From the historic Victorian port city of Manistee, Michigan, welcome to the 27th Annual Victorian Sleighbell Parade. Tonight, take a few steps back in time with one of Michigan's most unique holiday celebrations. Funding for tonight's telecast comes from Little River Casino Resort at the corner of US 31 and M22 in Manistee. Little River, big fun. And now, here are your hosts for today's telecast, Dave Mix and star of stage, screen, and television, Tony Trucks.
Welcome to the 27th Annual Sleighbell Parade from right here in Manistee, Michigan. And I'm Dave Mix, and I am so delighted to be here again this year. And I'm here with Manistee's own Tony Trucks.
Thank you for having me. Hello. It's so good to be back for the second year of the televised parade.
I know. And we're right here on River Street, and I'll tell you what, everything is happening here today. There are so many activities, so many things going on, and one of the things that's going on right now are the Merry Trombones. Well, you talked about being back home,
yes.
but the beauty of you is that we have the opportunity of checking on you all the time because we see you on television all the time. And so consequently, we saw you this past year on The Mentalist.
Yes.
And we saw you a couple of times on the Grimm, which on NBC. And I have to tell you, we were watching Grimm.
Yes.
And when all of a sudden you changed into this really frightening,
wild creature.
Yeah, I know this one.
I was possessed.
So, did you have fun with that?
I did. It's always good to sort of transform for a role, and this one was no exception. I really got to put on all the green dots and got CGI'd into a wild monster, so it was great. But honestly, this is the best time of year for me to come home. You can just see Manistee is just alive and so excited and dressed up.
And the beautiful part about this is look at all the people that we have on the street here today. I mean, this is absolutely extraordinary. You know, we talk about, let's walk down here just a little bit. We talk about all of the things that are going on in Manistee and all of the great things that are happening. But someone who really has a good handle on the history of Manistee is Mark Federer, who is with the Manistee County Historical Museum here in town. And
a classmate of mine.
I am a classmate of Tony's. Yes, we went to high school in Walter Street.
Sure did. It's a reunion. This whole night's going to be a reunion.
That's great.
Yes.
Well, Mark, we're glad to have you with us, and you're going to be with us today during the show.
I am, yes. Very happy to be here during this magical time of year here in downtown Manistee. Happy to be here.
Mark, we heard a little bit about, we've been looking at how beautiful the street is here in Manistee. Can you talk a little bit about the Victorian era? What is the Victorian era? How is it distinguished from all of it?
Well, the Victorian era is called the Victorian era because of Queen Anne, who was the Queen of England back in 1837 to about 1901.
A long time to reign.
Very long time to reign it is, and it's very distinguishable because of the way people dress and the architecture and a lot of the technology that was kind of on the increase at that point in time, like photography and various machine tools that were used to create very ornate things on buildings, as well as a lot of the, especially in Manistee, the increase in immigration that came here during that time period.
So it was a really exciting time.
Very exciting time in Manistee.
So
absolutely.
In terms of Manistee, can you tell us how this sort of street, it has so many beautiful old buildings still, but how would it look different in, the Victorian era, like 120 years ago?
Well, I think the key word here in Manistee in the Victorian times would have been bustling. It was a very bustling city. At that point in time, say Manistee's population now is about, the city of Manistee is about 7,500 people. It was about double that around that time. So it was very, very active and very busy. And of course, since you're such a large lumbering town, you had a lot of logging business going on, but there were also a lot of self-made millionaires. And so it was all kind of a cycle that started where immigrants came, started a business. Before you know it, you have a city. Before you know it, you have lots and lots of businesses and lots of churches, lots of
structures that
are still standing today, of course. So it's very active. And so I think that was a key word here in Manistee in the 1880s especially. As well, you had a lot of department stores down here at the time, a lot of saloons. People like to have a little fun and spirits back then, as they do now too as well. Nothing's changed at all. No, more things change, more they stay the same as well.
But the thing that I found really interesting when we were looking at some of the pictures that you got for us is the fact that right here on River Street,
yes,
we used to have a really active streetcar line.
Yes, we do. And that started in the late 1890s. And so that was a very big deal because instead of taking the horse and buggy, or instead of walking to work, or instead of walking into town, you could just hop on at various points throughout Manistee, and it also went to Father City and also went to East Lake, so it went all around the whole area here in Manistee, dropping people off and picking people up. So that kind of added to the busyness here in downtown.
I think we could use that today, a little mass tread.
I think it would be very unique. It was then, it still is now.
And I think there's a lot of towns that probably lost their streetcars before they really should have lost their
I agree.
San Francisco had it right.
Absolutely. And see, Manistee was very unique at that time, too, to have something like that.
For a city this size.
For a city this size,
well,
exactly.
Isn't there a statistic about the number of millionaires we had in this town?
Yes, that's true. Manistee is rumored, legend. We've never been able to substantiate it, but it did have supposedly the most amount of millionaires per square mile.
In the United States.
In the United States at the time.
Yes. So
probably not now, but at the time. Yeah.
Well, amazing.
Well, Mark, we're looking forward to some of the other little historic pieces that you're going to be sharing with us. And, we talk about what Manistee looked like 100 years ago, but there have been just an incredible number of changes that have taken place here in Manistee, even over the past year. And just before we went on the air, Tony had the opportunity of talking with Patrick Kay, who is the executive director of Downtown Manistee. So let's take a look at that interview.
Patrick, we learned a little bit about what the street looked like 100 years ago. Can you tell us some of the changes that you've seen over the last year?
Over the last year, we've had a lot of new businesses that have come into town. We've had a new restaurant that's come into town. We'll be having a few more that will be coming in as well very soon. Downtown Manistee is currently at an 83% occupancy rate. We have a total of 857 full and part-time jobs in the downtown. I like to say if downtown Manistee was one business, it would be the largest business in Manistee County. So things are going very well down here in Manistee.
Can you give us any hints as to what changes we might see within the next year in this downtown area?
Yeah, in the next year we're looking to have at least a couple new restaurants that will be coming into town. We're working closely with trying to get a brewery here. We haven't solidified anything just yet, but hopefully that'll come soon. We're also working with a few other stores that will be coming here. So over the next couple years, downtown Manistee will be doing very well. Much better than it's doing now. Hopefully our 83% occupancy rate goes to a 90% occupancy rate or higher.
That's great. And if someone out there has a new business that they are interested in bringing to Manistee, how can they go about contacting you or learn more about coming to this area?
They would come to our website, visitmanistee.com. It has everything that you're ever interested, the demographics, available properties, different incentives and loans and different types of programs that we offer new businesses coming in. So visit Manistee. You'll find my contact information on there, but we have a lot of great resources on our website for anybody to look into to find out what they're looking to do here.
Perfect. Well, go to visitmanistee.com and bring your business to Manistee.
So in the blistering summer of 1945, actually it was, I have to look here, Mel Torme. Remember Mel Torme?
The Velvet Fog.
The Velvet Fog.
Hollywood trivia for you.
Mel Torme and songwriter Bob Wells were trying to keep cool because it was such a warm summer. Okay. So they decided that they would write a summer song, a cool summer song. So in about 45 minutes, they came up with this whole song that starts out chestnuts roasting on an open fire.
I know the tune.
Yes. And the good news is we have chestnuts roasting on an open fire right over here. Let's wander over and talk with Kendra.
Chestnuts roasting on an open fire, Jack Frost nipping at your nose.
Manastee's cultural and historic heritage, and nothing better than celebrating the Victorian era through roasting the chestnuts. Well, thank you. Woo! We got one good.
That's a chestnut popping on the open fire.
Thank you so much for doing this. Thank you.
These are beautiful.
We love
forward
it.
to it every year.
We appreciate you guys being here.
Kendra, thank you so much. You know, if it weren't for the fact that they are doing underwriting of the chestnuts, it wouldn't happen here this weekend. Underwriting is really what makes this whole weekend possible. And underwriting is actually what's been possible for us to bring you the telecast for the past couple of years. If it hadn't been for the underwriting that we've gotten, wonderful underwriting that we've gotten from Little River Casino Resort, we couldn't bring you this telecast. So we thank them for the support that they've given. And along those lines, let's take a look at this video.
Production support for this telecast of the Manistee Victorian Sleighbell Parade is provided by Little River Casino Resort. Merry Christmas from the staff and management of Little River Casino Resort. Little River, big fun. On the web at lrcr.com.
So we heard the trombones, we've seen chestnuts, and behind us is a music director with a rolling pin who's directing a choir with a rolling pin. How often do you see that? Let's go over and see if we can. This is Carol Voights. Let's go over and see if we can kind of interrupt Carol. Hey, Carol, how are you? Hi, everybody. How are you? Carol, yes. Carol, I just said I'm amazed directing a choir with a rolling pin.
Oh yeah, I'm the camp cook. I got to keep the lumberjacks in line.
You said you're dressed, explain your costume to us.
Well, we're the lumberjacks and the lumberjack camp cooks and the people who built this town.
That's absolutely right.
Yeah.
Well, and what's the name of the group, Carol, and how many are in your group?
Well, this is the part of our Manistee Choral Society, and in the Choral Society we have 45 this year. We had 45, and we just had a lot of us are getting old, so some of them don't want to sing out.
Now, Carol, you just had a really wonderful fundraising concert. It happens once a year. It's your dessert concert. It happened
Yes.
about 2 or 3 nights ago, right?
Yeah, on Thursday, and we
Can you
always
tell us
open
about
up.
it?
We open up the Christmas weekend with that, and it's been going for 25 years. We've been singing and doing that, and we serve a dessert, and we sing, and we are all dressed in Victorian costumes, not the working class.
Not the
ones.
working. Okay.
The more
Everyone,
elegant,
everyone, I see,
the
I
elegant
see.
ones.
And where do you do the concert each year?
This year, for several years, we've been doing it at Faith Covenant up
Okay.
on 8th Street. So we move all the pews out and put chairs and tables. It's like a elegant dinner. And
Well, it's definitely a
that's
great
great.
way to kick off the weekend.
It is,
especially-
yeah.
So, Carol, could we possibly have the group sing one more
Well,
number
sure,
here for us?
join us.
All right, great. Oh, that's great. That's wonderful. I mean, we have thousands of people. There will be about 10,000 people who will be here this weekend for the Sleighbell Parade,
Yes,
which is
and
really exciting.
I think there's going to be more people out tonight just because the weather is so on our side. It's
I think
very
so,
warm.
too. Well, Mark talked earlier about all of the things that are taking place. We talk about all the things that are taking place this weekend. But a little before we went on the air, Tony had the opportunity of talking to Rachel Brooks, who is the chairman of all of the weekend's activities. Let's take a look at that interview.
Rachel, can you tell us some of the highlights of the weekend?
Sure, the highlights start on Thursday with the Festival of Trees at the beautiful historic Ramsdale Theater. Friday evening, we have a downtown soup cook-off where 17 downtown businesses participate. Approximately 600 guests come out to sample soups throughout our downtown and, of course, shop in our lovely stores. And then, of course, on Saturday, we have the Sleighbell Parade that starts at 5:30 every year. That has the 30-foot Christmas tree pulled by the team of draft horses. That's just a sight to see.
Absolutely. Now, how does one prepare for a weekend like this?
We start every year in January. There is a committee of 10, but it really takes the entire community. With our DPW, our police, the committee, the downtown businesses, and of course our sponsors, we all come together to put it on every year.
And what does a weekend like this mean for a community like Manistee?
It's hard to describe. You have to walk downtown Manistee and feel the energy, see the lights, see the garland, decorated beautifully down here. You just have to come in and experience it.
I think that's a invitation to the world. So please come to Manistee for Old Christmas Weekend.
Thank you.
Absolutely. And, the committee has been super to work with, and it's been a lot of fun. It's a really hard-working committee.
I try to explain it to people, and I'm just like, you have to just experience it. So I think it's well said.
Great. Well, earlier we were talking about sort of the historic elements, historic buildings here in the community. Right behind us is an absolutely wonderful example of some of the historic buildings here in town. This is the Ramsdell Inn, TJ's Pub, and we've got a special segment that we thought we would share with everyone, which talks a little about the history of the Ramsdell Inn. Let's take a look at that.
In July of 1891, the Ramsdell building was under construction at a cost of between $30,000 to $40,000. The building was designed by East Saginaw architect Fred Hollister, but it was built and named after the prominent Manistee attorney and philanthropist Thomas Jefferson T.J. Ramsdell. The Ramsdell has 4 floors total. The bottom 2 were built using granite, while the top 2 were constructed with brick. On the second floor, bank vaults 2 feet thick were installed and considered the most fire and burglar proof in that era. Manistee County Savings Bank leased that portion of the Ramsdell for 10 years, which came as a surprise to TJ, who was the president of the First National Bank across the street. Frederick W. Ramsdell, TJ's son, was a world-renowned artist and painted the mural located in the second floor. The depiction is symbolic of the cultural and industrial state of the area in that day. The upper floors were originally occupied by the law offices of T.J. Ramsdell, E.E. Benedict, and George L. Hilliker, but are now used as a boutique hotel. The downstairs housed and functioned as the city drugstore until 1975 and is now known as TJ's Pub. For more information on this or other Manistee historic sites, go to visitmanisteecounty.com or download the Manistee County app.
For not only the parade tonight, but also all of the activities that take place during the Sleighbell weekend. And that's a gentleman by the name of Jerry Smith, who passed away a few weeks ago.
That's right, Jerry. That's right, Dave. Jerry's passing just a few short weeks ago was felt by all here in Manistee. And in his memory and in his honor, the parade is going to be led off by a horse-drawn hearse. It's very elegant. It's an exact replica of the type of wagon that would have been used during the 1800s. And it's going to signify the role that Jerry played in creating this beautiful event. It also is going to honor Amanda Pinkerton, who passed away several years ago. And Amanda and Jerry were the folks that started this entire celebration. So it's really fitting that we can have this tribute with the horse-drawn hearse for Jerry. I think that it should definitely be mentioned that Jerry was such a bright light in our community. He was somebody that really celebrated the diverse community that is Manistee, and it's really special that I think we can both be here to celebrate him at the parade in this way. He and Amanda both, but he will certainly be missed and his absence felt.
Oh yeah, and I think it's very fitting that the parade committee decided, as you said, to have this horse-drawn hearse to lead off the parade. And you were telling me earlier, and I think we're going to see it as the hearse goes by. You were telling me what is in the hearse?
Yes, so in this exact beautiful replica with the horse-drawn hearse, we're going to see a light-up version of Jerry's top hat and Amanda Pinkerton's bonnet that they each wore every single year of the Sleighbell parade. So it's really just going to be a beautiful commemoration of their lives.
That's very fitting, very fitting. Well, we talked earlier, we were talking with Mark Frederick from the museum, and that Mark would be joining us later in the broadcast. I think Mark is down on River Street right
Mark's
now.
on the streets.
And
Mark is our man on the
He is
town.
our man on the street. And Mark, we were talking earlier about we were talking about the Ramsdell Inn and some of the historic buildings here in Manistee. Mark, could you tell us a little more about some of the other historic buildings here in Manistee?
Well, Dave, there were, back in the 1880s, Manistee saw a large uptick in the people that were here. So you start to have more and more influx of immigration down here, and before you know it, Manistee became a very, very active place. And just a little bit about the 1870s, a lot of those lumber barons started to come to Manistee and started to build and construct these large buildings. They were originally immigrants who came here, many of them penniless, and started to invest their money and became very prosperous and decided to build many of these buildings. One of them right in the back here, the Ramsdell building, was a very, very beautiful building that was built by T.J. Ramsdell. You also had people like John Canfield, who built a huge building mansion that took up a whole city block. You had the Unitarian Church, which I think we saw a picture of there. We also had many other churches that were built here in Manistee. And so that added a lot to Manistee's uniqueness. Now the fortunate thing is that we still have these buildings here, many of them still here, especially in downtown Manistee, that we can still appreciate today. So it's a very, very special place to be.
It's so wonderful to have Mark here. He's such an invaluable resource for the history of Manistee and just any sort of general history. Mark's just great regardless. In any situation, he's your Jeopardy buddy.
Well, I know the parade is going to be starting shortly.
Yes.
And of course, as I look down the street, I see that there's so many people on the street. My guess is that probably before the parade starts coming down the street,
they'll have to clear it.
They're going to have to move the
We'll
people
have some sort of
off a
physical
little bit.
marker here.
So Tony,
yes.
How many years? Well, you've probably had the opportunity of seeing this parade just about every year, haven't you?
Yes, absolutely. Gosh, I participated in so many, and I certainly was alive when the first parade happened. So I remember it was very exciting every time of year this happened. We're going to see later on in the program the sixth graders will come through, fourth through sixth graders this year at Kennedy School, and I think it was probably the first time that I participated, if not with them, then with the civic players.
Well, and not only that, but you came back and back here a few years ago, you were Grand Marshal of the parade too,
I
weren't
was.
you?
I was.
Mean, it's like, hey, we have an opportunity to have a film and movie star with us. Why not? You know?
It's waiting for that key to the city, Dave. No, it's so great to come back, and I was so honored to be the Grand Marshal. My dad drove me in the parade, so I think small town parades is so great.
You talk about your dad a little later in the parade. We've
Yes.
got a dad driving a daughter in the parade.
Yes, we do.
And I do remember that year, you driving, and I think your dad's smile that year was just about as wide as it could get because he was so proud of his daughter being the Grand Marshal.
And you know those smiles aren't easy to come by. So this is fantastic. Do you remember your first parade?
The first parade was actually about 20 years ago, as a matter of fact. And it was, I remember it was very cold. Very cold. So
there have been some whiteout parades
there
at
have
that
been
end.
whiteout parades, and so the fact that we've got sort of temperate climate is really fun.
It is.
It's fun for us and fun for all of the folks working on the broadcast. But I know, in fact, I was talking to some people the other day who said, well, I hope there's a little snow.
I know it does make it makes it picturesque to see.
Go, okay, just snow and then go away, or something like that.
Yep. We do have lots of, it's so warm this time of year for us randomly, so lots of people are out. We also are showing the parade live down at our newly restored Vogue Theater, which is so nice. So there's lots of opportunities for people to see it, whatever their comfort level in terms of temperature.
I know, and that's one of the beautiful things about down at the Vogue. One of the things, having been involved with the Vogue Theater,
yes,
one of the things that they do this weekend, and again, if you're planning on coming to Manistee for a weekend, you can come and throughout the day on Friday, Saturday and Sunday, there are free movies down, free holiday-oriented movies at the Vogue Theater. It gives everybody an opportunity of catching up on all of those holiday movies that they'd like to see.
Yes, they always do such a good job to cater to families and to children, and any movie lover really in the town. And we also have at our local playhouse, the Ramsdale Theater is showing Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat this weekend.
And next year they're going to be doing The Christmas Story.
Perfect.
Which should be a lot of fun. And speaking of the Ramsdale,
yes,
I heard a little bird told me that you're going to come back and direct a play with
Oh
the
my
Ramsdale
gosh, who's
players?
the little bird that told you that?
Well, just someone who shared that with me. So what is this all about?
We're in talks right now to do some things, so I shouldn't do too many details, but yes, we are talking about me possibly coming back to direct a play there. I grew up in the theater. I did my first show there when I was 7. And it's near and dear to my heart, and one of the most glorious structures on the planet, in my opinion, built in 1902. It's a beautiful old Victorian playhouse, and I would be honored to do anything there.
Well, and I've said before, if people wonder, so who comes out of Manistee other than Tony Trucks? but there's a relatively, of course, coming up with a brand new movie that's going to be showing here within the next few weeks. There is one individual whose very first role was on stage at the Ramsdale Theater.
Well, I'm not sure it was his very first role, but one of his very first roles, the beautiful, living legend, James Earl Jones, is from this area, and he used to perform summer stock at the Ramsdale Theater and performed his very first turn as Othello. He did at the Ramsdale, and you can see a beautiful painting of him the role.
That picture of James Earl Jones as a very young man.
Yes.
In the role of Othello, it's a gorgeous painting up the Ramsdale. So when you come for Sleighbell weekend next year,
come to the Ramsdale.
You've got to go to the Ramsdale. You've got to see the picture of James Earl Jones as a young man performing in Othello.
Yes.
And
there's so many things to do this whole weekend. They put out a pamphlet, and for really 4 full days, you can just fill your day with your family. They had something new this year down at the marina where you go and decorate cookies with your family, and that's a charity event. I mean, there's just so many beautiful things to do around the city. I was at the craft show this morning. It's nonstop.
Wonderful. Well, it looks to me like the parade has begun.
Oh, it has.
And once again, in honor of Jerry Smith as well as Amanda Pinkerton, who worked with Jerry during the early years, here comes the historic horse-drawn hearse that we talked about earlier.
Yes. Now, as we mentioned, the wagon is actually specially crafted in Canada and is a remarkable replica of the ones that were used during the 1800s.
And the gentleman, and I regret that I don't have his name, but the gentleman who is walking out front was a person who worked with Jerry for a number of years too, in theater and other things.
That's wonderful. I'm hoping that we can see closely if you're at home or at the Vogue watching. Please look, if you look closely into the hearse, you will see the top hat worn by Jerry Smith for all of his years involved with the parade, one of the founders, and in his memory, and also Amanda Pinkerton's bonnet that she wore every year at the parade. That is Mr. Minster, yes. That's beautiful. What a wonderful tribute to Jerry and Amanda.
I had a conversation with the people who provided this hearse, and they were telling me that again, it's, as you mentioned, it's an incredible replica of
gorgeous
the era, and it has beveled glass, and it's just wonderfully.
I think we're going to get a peek inside here, and as we mentioned earlier, there's Jerry Smith's top hat and Amanda Pinkerton's bonnet, two of the founders of the Sleighbell Parade. Both have passed away. Jerry, just in the past couple of weeks, they're here, and they will be missed greatly. And two just exceptional human beings that we were fortunate enough to have here in Manistee County.
What a wonderful.
Oh, that's beautiful.
What a wonderful way though to pay tribute to a couple of people who were so instrumental in creating this event and in having such an incredibly huge impact on the community.
Absolutely, absolutely. Very strong characters. And that horse is gorgeous. The whole setup for this memoriam for the two of them is just beautiful.
Well, it looks like we have some activity right behind. And
there they are. My favorite are the Kiwanis Cops. The Kiwanis Cops were born several years ago when the Manistee Kiwanis Club pitched in to help the Sleighbell Parade. They always lead the parade carrying the banner, and they say that they're helping with crowd control and
Where's that guy right there pointing off in the direction?
Yeah, on the right. Well, that looks like my father, but it's actually not him. But
You're right.
But the Kiwanis Cops always say that they're sort of doing crowd control. But I think that they're mostly interested in taking pictures with people and handing out candy and having their picture taken.
Well, they do look like the Keystone Cops of the old silent movie days.
They are indeed.
And here come the folks from Chemical Bank just went past, and here we have the Muskegon Regional Police Pipes and Drums. The group was formed in 2004 in Muskegon and performed throughout West Michigan and beyond.
There goes my father.
Wherever they perform, they always celebrate the spirit of Highland music.
Yes, the band is wearing the ancient Hume tartan with the permission of the Hume clan, and they do that in honor of Thomas Hume, one of the civic leaders of early Muskegon.
And they also wear a shirt with a shoulder pad that was specifically designed for this band.
Oh, let's take a listen.
Well, here we go.
And here comes the very patriotic living flag. These members participated for many years as the Benzie Snowbirds, but they've now donated their uniforms to the Spirit of the Woods Garden Club so that the tradition can continue here in the Sleighbell Parade. So here comes the living flag.
And it's great that they passed this along. I think that's tremendous that they, again, the tradition continues, you know?
Yeah, it's very powerful.
And they're all bundled up, too.
They've managed to stay warm, but coordinated.
Right, exactly.
Oh, that's wonderful.
And here comes the Manistee Spirit of the Woods Garden Club representatives. Their tree costumes represent the spirit that they spread throughout Manistee County as they replace trees lost to disease or brush fires. And their volunteers also spend time attending the memorial and community gardens throughout the Manistee area. That's a dancing tree.
I think I've had to wear that costume in a few shows, my college years. And there we have our living flag again. Beautiful. Look at the crowds there, Dave. And here we have another queen. Queen Victoria herself is on her way down the parade route. But I think if we look closely, we're going to see that it's actually Joanne Cleaver. She is standing in for the English queen who reigned from 1837 into 1901. That's a long reign, so I think there's no wonder that they named an entire era after her.
I can see the queen waving.
Yes, please.
Queen Joanne, well, no, Queen Victoria.
Queen Victoria, she's taking on the part.
And Colleen Kenny.
Oh, she's riding along with her.
The recently re-elected mayor of Manistee, Colleen Kenny. You know, I wonder, you talk about how long Queen Victoria reigned. I wonder how many times Colleen Kenny would need to be elected mayor so that she could have an era named after her.
Do you think we should challenge her?
Yeah,
See if she could really go for it?
Yeah. And here we have the Silver Spurs 4-H Club of Mason County.
Yes, this is an extremely active 4-H group, and we have a couple of members riding and some of the other members of the club, as well as supporting parents are walking along. That's great.
You know, with being equestrian group, especially 4-H clubs or whatever, it is just so important that they have supportive parents. So the fact that they're parents walking along with their children, helping guide the horse, I think that's part of the spirit of young people and parades and all of it.
Well, and also for the whole weekend, we're really celebrating family time. There's so many events that include the whole family, and the parade is not an exception.
Oh, yeah.
Beautiful.
Boy, I'll tell you, look at all the people down the street. We have a lot of people here for the parade this year.
Oh, the little tiny 4-H member there, isn't it?
She may be a 3.5 H. What do you think?
Yes, I think you might be right.
Absolutely.
That's great.
Well, last year, these folks brought an incredibly historic wagon from 1836. And this year, the Dennis Stevens out of Stevens Farm has brought an incredible covered wagon. And what a gorgeous wagon we have here.
Yes, I wonder if this one is as old as the one that they had last year. You know, and I'm also wondering, do they really use these wagons practically now, or are they just on the farm looking beautiful?
Or did they just use them in parades like that?
They could. I mean, they're wonderfully functional, but I'm sure kind of want to protect them.
Gorgeous team of horses, a bunch of kids having a great time waving to the crowd.
It's always nice to ride along in the parade, right?
Yes.
The Kiwanis cops walking, and now we've got folks riding. Beautiful horses. Good wave from the crowd there.
Well, we just had a queen, and here's another one.
That is right, Dave. But this one really is a queen. This is Shelby Sobralski, who is the 2016 Miss Ludington area.
And she's riding in a wagon being pulled by Betty and Beauty, an outstanding Percheron draft horse team.
And the team is being driven by someone who I'm sure is very proud of Miss Ludington, because this is her dad, Ron Sobralski.
There again, right back to just like the year that your dad drove you in the parade, right?
They'll never forget this. Miss Ludington area again, Shelby Sobralski.
And here's another great wagon and team. This one from Nayhaven Farms. The wagon is owned by Charlene Patty Loft, and I'm told it's being pulled by another beautiful team of Percherons.
I know last year the members of this group were from the Crossfire Friends 4-H group out of Ludington, but one thing is obvious. Everyone in this group loves to ride, and they look to be outstanding horsemen. Very accomplished group here.
Yeah, absolutely.
I always wonder if you need to train to ride a horse with a cape, you know, it kind of drags behind near the tail, or
I know.
if it gets in the way, but they do such a
Great
great
riders
job.
and
Yes.
beautiful horses.
Beautiful.
There's a very elegantly dressed young man.
I love to look at the hats over the weekend.
I
Everyone
know.
has such wonderful hats.
And this is a group These are our scoopers, and I believe they're all from Charity Elmer's Northwood Kids 4-H group in Onekama.
Yes, these kids are extremely helpful. I actually think we should rename them the Trooper Scoopers, just because they're such troopers to have this job throughout the course of the parade.
And doing a great job. And when you have a parade with no motorized vehicles and all horses, definitely scoopers are important.
Yes, they are. I really appreciate that about the parade, that they really tried to, make sure that we stick with the Victorian era, no motorized vehicles. It's really important.
Well, and it's my understanding that the band members appreciate the scoopers.
I'm sure they do. The marching band members. Oh,
well, now here comes
a reindeer horse.
Yeah, a reindeer horse. How about that?
That's great.
It's not often that you see a horse that sprouted reindeer horns.
We need to come up with a new name for him,
Yeah.
And who do we have next here?
Well, coming back there a ways, I think we're going to see the City of Manastee's Children's Chorus. Here they come.
Here they are. Oh, they look great.
This is the City of Manastee's Children's Chorus, and they're under the direction of Joyce Brenner.
Yes, this chorus is made up of children and youth ages 7 to 18, and it encourages the use of their voices as lifelong musical instruments.
That's a great goal, isn't it, though?
I think that it's just it's beautifully put. As when I worked in the musical theater all the time, we always talked about your voice as your instrument, and I think that people care for their voice in a different way when they start to think about it as an instrument.
And they're all singing as they walk along. Let's see once if we can hear them as they get a little bit closer to us here.
I hope so. They all have matching red scarves there.
Isn't that
unifying.
Neat?
Yes.
And speaking of the matching red scarves, I have the scarf on of the Sleighbell Parade, Old Victorian Weekend.
This is the official scarf of the year, isn't it?
Yeah, and this was something that was specially created this year, and there's sort of a limited number of these available, but now we're talking, because they've been so popular, that maybe what we need to do is make these available again next year.
I think so.
Yeah.
I've certainly spotted several on the streets. Here they're getting a little closer.
Yes.
Yes.
Well, it looks like we have a lot of girls who are headed off to bed in their Victorian pajamas.
Yes. These are the Girl Scouts from here in the Manistee County area. We have girls representing Manistee Senior Troop 10148, Manistee Troop 3764, and that's made up of brownies, juniors and cadets, and the Onekama Brownie Troop 4644. They've got on their Victorian pajamas and nightcaps, and some are dressed up like wind-up toys, and I think a few are carrying giant lollipops.
Wow. This is a great organization. The Girl Scouts have been helping young ladies develop their leadership activities, decision-making skills, and helping them gain self-confidence since 1912.
Yes.
And you tell me that you used to be part of one of the troops, correct?
I was part of Troop 154 here in Manistee. What a positive experience it was.
Oh, that's very neat. Well, here's something that was very popular in parades and festivals during the Victorian era and into the early 1920s. A stilt walker, or the 20th century rather, a stilt walker. In this case, we have an elf on stilts.
I'm so happy that we're seeing this guy. He went by so fast last year. He's truly incredible. This stilt walker, his name is Neil Sauter. Neil has become known as the Michigan stilt walker because of the many appearances that he does throughout Michigan. Neil first learned to do stilt walking in 2007, and then he trained to do He trained for a whole year to do stilt walking fundraiser for the United Cerebral Palsy of Michigan. And in 2008, Neil walked 830 miles across Michigan and raised $85,000 for cerebral palsy.
Wow.
Neil has, a great appreciation for those with the disease since he discovered that he has mild cerebral palsy himself.
Wow. And Neil is actually in the Guinness Book of Records and in the Ripley's Believe It or Not Museum and Book. Well, here we go.
Here we are, and here's our oldest club in Manistee. This is the Lakeside Club. This year, the club is celebrating their 130th year of helping many organizations and institutions throughout Manistee. During its early years, the club was principally responsible for creating and funding Manistee's Carnegie Library. And if you haven't had the opportunity to go visit Manistee's Carnegie Library, I strongly encourage you to do so. It is glorious.
Oh, wow. And in honor of their 30th anniversary, this year the club will again be sponsoring their tour of historic homes right here in Manistee, something they do every 2 years, and it'll be the third weekend in July.
And that is their main fundraising project, and all the funds that they raise with that home tour goes to other nonprofit organizations here in the Manistee community.
And here comes the Manistee High School Marching Band under the direction of Cindy Swan-Egan, and they're sounding great.
And the band has had a great record of recognition. Since 1982, the band has had nearly perfect record for first division ratings at both district and state evaluations. They've even been invited as a guest band at the Michigan Music Conference 6 times, and they've had guest performances at both Western and Central Michigan University.
Well, let's listen to the Manistee High School Marching Band.
Dave, you mentioned that they usually have a color guard with them?
Yes, usually they do, but not in Victorian parade, so that's why no color guard this year. Hey, they look great. They've got lights on their instruments. It's tremendous. And here comes actually
Volunteer East Lake Fire and Rescue Squad.
Yes.
Yes, and they're pulling what was their very first piece of firefighting equipment that they bought at the turn of the century. This is their soda and ash cart.
You know, back in the late 1800s, these carts mixed soda and water to produce the water stream to put out a house fire, and it really was state of the art at that time. It's just that the firemen were always hoping that it wouldn't explode on them.
And when they're not using their cart in parades, it can actually be seen up close throughout the year at the Manistee County Historical Museum.
And I bet Mark would be very happy to have everybody stop by and see it.
Mark Fetter would be very happy to have everyone stop by the Historical Museum. They have events year-round that celebrate Manistee and its history. And Mark is an expert.
And here are the children and adults from Trinity Lutheran School dressed as shepherds, wise men, angels, and the nativity scenes. Don't they look great all in their costumes?
Yes, I love the halos.
Oh, yes. And the shepherds coming behind.
I've seen their Christmas show that the children do at Trinity Lutheran several years, and they always do a beautiful job.
That's one of the wise men, I bet.
I think so. The Kings. What do we
Well,
have
here
down
comes
there?
a group that's participated in every year of the 27 years of Sleighbell Parade. The students from Manastee's Kennedy Elementary School, all the kids dressed in Victorian style attire, and they're in the school's 4th through 6th grade.
That's right. In 27 years, can you imagine how many Kennedy students have participated in that Sleighbell Parade? I mean, it must be thousands. I know I'm included in there.
And
Mark's included.
And you said you participated, huh?
I did, absolutely.
All through every year of school?
I probably participated in the parade most years of school. Definitely when I was at Kennedy, for sure. They encourage all the students to get involved, which I love. And then any year that I wasn't at Kennedy with the Civic players.
So did you dress as a lumberjack?
You know, I'm going to tell you what, I wasn't thinking about fashion, I was thinking about warmth. So I'm sure that I was looking like some sort of rusty lumberjack.
Yeah,
My dad's
exactly.
flannel, lots of layers.
Which, as we were saying, a lot of years that's incredibly important, isn't it though?
Absolutely. I think it's really such a wonderful example to have kids participating in community events when they're young and just carry that over into their adulthood.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Oh, they're all having a good time, aren't they though?
I think they're having a great time. They're all huddled together. They're warm. And you said this is grades 4 through 6?
Yeah.
This is Mrs. Odin walking down. So many recognizable teachers and educators in our area.
He must be a teacher.
Yep, there's another teacher, Mrs. Johns, Amanda Johns. Wonderful educator in the area. Happy kids makes happy community.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And here's the Tittabawassee Valley Fife and Drum Corps. The members are all wearing uniforms that would have been worn by the Continental Marines between roughly 1778 and 1781.
Unbelievable. And the descendants of this unit eventually evolved into what we know today as the United States Marine Corps. And the flag bearers are carrying some of the most famous flags of the American Revolution.
Wow.
Wonderful costumes.
What a great little guy there.
I was going to say, he's really taking on the character,
Yeah,
isn't he?
isn't that great?
Nice serious soldier we have here. Oh, and I hear some fife players? Is that what's happening?
Yep.
I wonder who does the replicas of the flags. Let's take a listen.
Well, these folks are very important every year during Old Victorian Weekend here in Manistee. They're the Victorian ambassadors. They're dressed in period clothes, and these folks are literally walking information booths for visitors and local residents throughout the weekend.
That's right. So when you come to Manistee next year, we hope that you do, please give them a try. Stop any of our Victorian ambassadors. Ask them where the nearest chestnuts are roasting. I'm sure they can direct you.
Well, they're very important to town, that's for sure.
Beautiful hats, muffs. We have quite a few ambassadors this year.
Wonderful hats.
Oh, wow. Here they
Okay, so
come.
how could Santa get anywhere without these guys? It's his reindeer.
Dave, these reindeer are from the Reindeer Ranch. The Reindeer Ranch in Kalamazoo County here in Michigan, where they've been raising these little guys since 1999. Now, to ensure that they're comfortable with crowds like we have here today, all of the reindeer are bottle raised from the time that they are calves, and their mom, Carol, has worked closely with the University of Alaska Fairbanks Reindeer Research Program for many years. And they have just started their first 4-H program for reindeer in the lower 48.
Isn't that great? I was talking with Carol Bolton, who we see there on the right-hand side of the screen, and the reindeer that she has, you ready for this?
Yes.
Is 6 months old. And the one on the left-hand side that her husband has is 3 years old.
They are quite big at 6 months old.
Isn't that amazing?
That is incredible.
And Carol was telling me that when you mentioned about bottle feeding these reindeer,
Yes, the calves.
because they want to acclimate them to people, they not only bottle feed them, but the reindeer have free reign in their home.
Oh, they just walk around the living room?
In the
Fine,
yeah,
comfortable?
can you imagine?
I wonder if you could adopt one, just like foster a reindeer, just like you can do a cat or a dog.
I don't know. She said that they have about 15 reindeer on their ranch right now.
That's amazing.
Isn't that something?
Yes.
So we're glad that and look at the rack on that reindeer. Isn't that amazing?
Yes. They're really incredible animals.
Well, and here's another group that has been in every sleigh bell parade since the beginning. This is Caldwell Banker, ALM Realty and Associates. And somebody asked me last year, what exactly does ALM stand for? And it stands for Along Lake Michigan, of course.
I just learned something new. Another shot of our wonderful, enthusiastic crowd. Oh, we've got a little puppy there. And here is another business that's going to go way back to the 1800s. This is the West Shore Bank.
Gorgeous wagon, and I think this is, I guess it's still
decorated.
Caldwell.
I think
It's the
Caldwell's.
Caldwell
Oh,
group
it's the
still
Caldwell
going
group.
through.
Oh,
It is, obviously, now that I see
yes,
the
now
flag.
that we see
yeah.
that.
Lots
They
of
had
people.
a good showing. They've been in the parade long enough. They deserve a good showing. Lots of entries with them.
Exactly.
Great shot of our driver.
Some beautiful wagons in the parade this year.
All right, now we have here, this is a beautiful entry. This is Katniss Prairie's riding her horse, Century Oak Windstar. But his friends just call him Henry. A couple of years ago, Katniss earned the nickname the Russian Princess because of her attire, and it's stuck. As you can see here, definitely looks like a Russian princess.
What a gorgeous horse, and beautifully dressed up. Katniss is 22, Henry is 13, and they've been riding together for over 8 years. Henry is a Morgan horse, and Henry is an extremely successful show jumper, which I'm told is very rare for the breed. Katniss says Henry always wants to be the star of the show, and that he always is very aristocratic in the way he looks and moves, and that's why he has that very royal look.
Now here they come. I jumped the gun here, but here they are, the business that goes all the way back to the 1800s. This is West Shore Bank. They may not look old, but that bank was founded back in 1898, and they have continued to serve West Shore area since then.
And riding with West Shore, they're playing host to Grinder Gordy. Grinder Gordy, who is out of Ludington, has a variety of music boxes and organs, and is always playing at a variety of activities all around the area. And there he is, grinding away on his music box. And he's been entertaining, actually, has been entertaining people throughout the afternoon here at Victorian weekend.
Oh, I'd love if we could hear a bit of it. There he is, grinding away.
There he is, yes.
I think we can hear a bit. And here comes the Banachie Riders under the direction of Wendy Banachie. They are all in Victorian dress and celebrating the parade and the start of the holiday season, looking gorgeous.
Wow. Great looking horses, great looking riders.
It's always so nice to watch horses when you get into this area. I find when you get into big cities, you always get concerned about if the animals are being treated well. But when you're in northern Michigan, you know that everyone that is involved with the animals has a genuine love of working with them. So you have such a comfort when you watch them come through parades like this.
And it's so interesting seeing such a variety of horses. And here comes a carriage with the Student Senate from West Shore Community College.
Great.
West Shore was established in 1967, and West Shore is located near Ludington and offers Associate of Applied Arts and Science degrees, and 1- and 2-year certificates, and much more. Obviously, additional information is available at the West Shore Community College website. And they're all decked out in their Victorian garb.
They went for it. Student Senate, how wonderful. I'm glad they would join forces for the parade.
Yeah.
I believe that the parade actually has roots in the West Shore as well.
I know. Look at the hats on the horses. Don't you like that?
Yes, the bonnet. Top hats. I think that girl is the best seat in the house. She's sandwiched in.
Yeah, I know.
Warm.
Great way to keep warm. Beautiful horses.
And here comes another group that has been in a number of sleigh bell parades, the Christmas Bell Ringers from Century 21 Boardwalk. This year they're riding along and ringing in the holiday season. As they get a little closer, let's see if we can take a listen. Group is always, I think people really look forward to the bell ringers each year.
And they're going to be ringing down by the Christmas tree too, I know, this evening.
Oh, near the fireworks show?
During the lighting and all of that.
And here they come again.
Yeah,
the super scoopers, or our trooper scoopers as we're calling them, helping out, keeping things in order and clean on the streets here. These are members of the Onekama High School equestrian team, so thank you, thank you, thank you.
Well, and I can only imagine that being part of an equestrian team, that they're well familiar with the with the task at hand.
I think
Let's put it that way.
Let's
The
put it that way.
task
Put it
at
lightly.
hand. Yeah.
And here we have some employees and volunteers from the Manistee County Library, the one we were just talking about, the Carnegie Library, celebrating Christmas in Neverland, depicting the turn-of-the-century story of Peter Pan by J.M. Barrie. Barrie's play about Peter was first staged on December 27th in 1904, which is just a few months before the Manistee Library opened its doors on June 1st, 1905.
Wow. And well, this is really fun.
Oh, they've got
So-
Captain Hook there.
I know. And Peter Pan,
Alligator.
who never grows up. The library became a reality actually through the efforts of the Manistee Lakeside Club, the group that we saw earlier in the parade, and a grant from the Andrew Carnegie Foundation. And today, the library building here in Manistee is listed on the state and national registers of historic buildings. And the library now has 6 locations throughout the county. And, you know, it's interesting. I came by the library a couple of weeks ago and for the first time noticed that it says Carnegie Library up
Right on
the-
it. I know.
on top of it.
I know. You know, it's so nice to have these events where we can pause and look at what's around us.
Yeah.
We're so spoiled with all of these buildings in our midst. Now here comes the doctors and nurses straight from the 1900s. These are members of the staff at Manistee West Shore Medical Center. And despite their dress, West Shore offers a wide range of very modern medical practices and services at their campus. Their staff of nearly 400 has a lot to be proud of over the past couple of years because awards of recognition have been received from the American Hospital Association and local businesses, community, and Michigan's governor.
And some of the walkers tonight are physicians, board members, volunteers, and family members. And some of the nurses that you see tonight are dressed in Victorian nursing attire that would be very similar to what Florence Nightingale would have worn while treating patients 100 years ago or more.
Oh, wow. You think that's healthy candy they're throwing out?
We can only hope.
We can only hope.
We can
that the
only
hospitals-
hope, yes. You know, we talk about the fact that there are no motorized vehicles in the parade, and so frequently the discussion is, well, how do you move something down the street if you can't have a motorized vehicle?
Sure.
And it's interesting to see how they've taken care of it, you know? Well, this is not the Manistee Catholic Central Band, but this is the group from Manistee High School, and
Manistee
it's the
Catholic Central High School,
Services
yes.
Group, Youth Services Group.
It's great. I'm not sure the age range on these students, but it's so great that students from Manistee Catholic Central would come out and join forces for the parade.
I know, yep.
It's such a memorable time as a student to do that with your classmates. Wonderful. More of the teachers and administrators, I think, from MCC,
Yeah.
Manistee Catholic Central, coming to support the National Catholic Youth Conference.
Well, and it looks like
Wow.
we have the Catholic Central Marching Band here.
Yes, they look like they have showed up here under the direction of Samantha McClendon. Here comes the Manistee Catholic High School Band, and they're playing a Christmas medley of traditional holiday music. And they've all got on their elf caps, in good spirits.
And it's a combination of, this may be the Brethren
Oh,
Band.
it looks like this is Brethren, which is a
The
surprise.
Catholic Central and Brethren Band were going to perform together under Samantha's direction.
Oh, I see. Okay. So Brethren here as well. Brethren, another wonderful community in our area. And now they have arrived. The lumberjacks.
Well, now we have some lumberjacks who've taken quite a turn historically from the 19th century. This is the Shoreline Cycling Club, and all the members are from Manistee and the Mason County areas.
Yes, and they are riding what we call fat tire bikes. Those bikes have 4 or 5 inch tires, so they can literally ride throughout the year. They can ride in sand in the summer or snow in the winter. And speaking of the lumberjacks and the timber industry here in Manistee, I think Mark Fetter, I think he may still be standing by. Mark, how important was the lumbering industry to this area?
Well, Tony, the lumbering industry basically built the entire town. So logging played a very vital, important role here in Manistee. Everything that we had here back in the 1880s, that during the Victorian period as well, and everything that we have here today was because of the logging industry. So basically the loggers would go out into the woods, specifically in the wintertime, because it was easier to cut trees and to move them all during the wintertime. During the springtime, they would, after everything melted, they would go down and roll the logs down what were called rollways. Then they would roll them, bring them down the river into the many mills that were here in Manistee. They would cut them up, then ship them off to either Wisconsin or Illinois, and then they would start the whole process again the following year. So it was very, very vital to this community here in Manistee. And the logging industry also helped make many immigrants millionaires. They came here very penniless from other countries and invested their money, little that they had, and many of them became millionaires and built many of the large homes and big structures that we still have here in Manistee. Very, very unique and very distinct structures here in Manistee.
And my guess is that as soon as he catches up with the reindeer, we saw earlier, I think that we've got someone coming here. Yes! We've got Santa Claus coming. He's finally arrived, and he seems to have given up his sleigh this year, and he's riding one of the common gentry carriages. Hello to Santa.
Wow, and my guess is that as soon as he catches up with the reindeer we saw earlier,
yes,
he'll get them all hitched up and we'll be ready for his rounds on Christmas Eve. Whoa, what a gorgeous sleigh and sled.
And for anyone visiting Manistee and wants to spend a few minutes with Santa, I know he's going to be greeting kids again this year at the City Marina downtown on River Street.
Wow, well, I know all of the kids are always happy to see Santa arrive in the parade. That sort of is the signal that Christmas is starting.
I think so. You got to get in your visit with Santa. I'm always tempted to go and get my picture taken with him, have a little chat.
Absolutely, absolutely. And of course, everyone is waiting in anticipation of the big tree to arrive. And as is the tradition here in Manistee,
yes,
the tree comes down the street upright and with a star on top. And this year, I have to tell you, I've seen the tree. It is huge. It is a huge tree.
I think it's 30 plus feet.
That's exactly what I heard. And
see a beautiful shot of the Ramsdale building again. All of these, just Manistee streetscape is so gorgeous. And the Manistee Main Street is always growing and changing, but to see these beautiful buildings never gets old for me.
And Manistee, well, as Mark was saying earlier, Manistee is loaded with just some extraordinary buildings, historic buildings, and historic and gorgeous homes. And I think we just saw a real quick peek of the tree, and right ahead of the tree are a bunch of lumberjack and laborers that we had met earlier.
There we go.
This is the caroling group that's caroling their way down River Street and leading the way for this year's Christmas tree.
You can see how big it is. It looks like it's just as tall as some of the buildings.
Amazing. Here it goes. Here it goes.
Here they come.
And the crowd down where we are just beginning to see what we've been able to see on television. And you
Oh,
can start to
gorgeous.
hear the reaction from the crowd as the tree is coming down toward our location.
And this tree is from the Herbert home right here in Manistee. The entire Manistee community would like to express its appreciation to the family for sharing their gift of our tree that we get to enjoy all holiday seasons. So thank you so much to the Herbert home.
We were talking earlier before we went on the air about the fact that the tree is so large that it likely could brush along each side,
I think
each
so.
side of this tree.
It is quite big.
This family has brought their teams of horses to pull the tree down the street for so many years of the Sleighbell Parade. It's just extraordinary. Big Belgium draft horses, aren't they beautiful
They
horses?
are gorgeous. Yep. I think in years past we've had that. We one year had the Budweiser draft horses. These are stunning. Or coming past us.
Whoa!
Wow. That is a massive tree.
We have a cameraman just ahead of the tree. I hope he doesn't run over the cameraman.
I hope he doesn't either. I see our poor golf cart getting ransacked there. You know, this is just the most exciting part of the parade. You'll probably see here our cameras are going to catch all of the crowd running into the street to follow the tree to the end of the River Street, which is our main drag here in Manistee. There they'll see the lighting of the tree and a beautiful fireworks show.
And look at all the people following. I mean, this is the big tradition to follow the tree.
Trace the tree.
Go down, sing carols. Oh, yeah.
Good Michigan fan there in the audience.
Oh, yes.
Come on, Dave. Go Blue.
I have to be cautious. My daughter went to that other school in Michigan, you know.
No, listen, when you're in Michigan, we support all the Michigan schools.
I know,
Go Blue.
I know. Well, the lighting of the tree, singing of carols, the fireworks display, we'll be back for a lot of that in just a moment. But first, while there are always so many great things that are happening this time of year here in Manistee during the winter time, a lot of winter activities, you have to remember that Manistee is located right along some of the most incredibly gorgeous beaches.
We are right on Lake Michigan.
I mean, we're just up the river a short distance from Lake Michigan. And there are all sorts of things that go on here in the summertime that you may want to think about coming back for too, in addition to laying on the beach. So to take a look at the Forest Festival, which happens in July.
Another favorite time of year.
Oh yes, let's take a look.
Manistee, Michigan welcomes you every summer. With the Manistee National Forest Festival. There's something for all ages during the 5 full days at the Manistee National Forest Festival. There's nothing quite like being near water in the summer. And Manistee has miles of sandy Lake Michigan beaches. Come see what we have to offer at the Manistee National Forest Festival. the Manistee National Forest Festival. Manistee is pure Michigan.
We're going to start off 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
What a fantastic evening this has been. I mean, an incredible Sleighbell parade, the lighting of the Christmas tree, and capping it off with this incredible fireworks show back here. I mean, my gosh, this has been just a great evening.
It's been beautiful. I'm so happy I was able to spend it with you, from chestnuts to fireworks.
I know.
And you know, we have so many people that we need to thank for this evening, people and businesses in the community that have helped make this entire weekend and parade possible. So hopefully on your screen right now you'll be seeing just a few of the folks that we definitely want to say a big, heartfelt, Christmas, warm, fuzzy thank you to for all you do for this community and for this weekend.
Absolutely, and I also want to express my great appreciation to the Community Media Center and all the guys and gals who come up here from Grand Rapids to help us out with this telecast every year. It's great. And by the way, I like your hat.
Oh,
thank you. I think it's very stylish.
I forgot to wear it earlier.
You know, and this is also a good time to remind you that now is the time for you to start to plan to join us next year for the 28th annual Sleighbell Parade right here in Manistee. And bring young, old, have a wonderful time here next year. And until then, this is Dave Mix.
And I'm Tony Trucks.
And we just want to wish you a very delightful Christmas season.
And a very, very happy New Year.
Good night, all.
Good night.
Funding for tonight's telecast was provided by Little River Casino Resort at the corner of US 31 and M22 in Manistee, Michigan. Little River, big fun. This program has been a production of the Grand Rapids Community Media Center. And on behalf of the Victorian Sleighbell Volunteer Committee and the entire community of Manistee, Michigan, this is Kevin Richards, wishing you and yours a very happy holiday season and a prosperous new year.